This is the worst Star Trek TV show I've ever seen. There wasn't one Andorian, Mike.
That looks like the Shirt Brothers shirt.
Shirt Brothers?
From, I Think You Should Leave.
What? I don't know any of the things you're talking.
Hello and welcome to Review. Today we're going to talk about Star Wars, a topic we've been avoiding talking about for 5 to 7 years now.
And it never goes away.
You know that meme, somehow Palpatine has returned? Do you know that?
Yes, I know that, yes.
I kept seeing things like somehow something has returned, right? Mm-hmm. It's a, you know this, Jay? Mm-hmm. It's a meme, right?
Yeah.
And then I saw a GIF with Oscar Isaac as Poe Dameron, and he said, and it had a quote, "Somehow Palpatine has returned," and I'm like, what is that from? And then I suddenly remembered that Star Wars Part 9, Revenge of Skywalkers, had Palpatine in it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's what that means. Did he actually say somehow Palpatine has returned?
You don't.
And then I was like, Palpatine returned in that. Oh, yeah.
It's in the opening crawl.
All I remember is they were riding horses over the outside of a Star Destroyer. That's all I remember.
Andor is very refreshing compared to that.
Okay, let's talk about Andor. We're here to talk about Andor, and we're here because I was like, I want to watch a new show I haven't watched.
Yeah.
I'm going to start something new, and then I kept seeing like people saying Andor was good. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. I'll watch Andor.
And for the record, for somebody who just like stumbles upon this video like 5 years after we've released it,
No.
We've now made this, what, like a year after Andor released? How long ago did Andor actually come out?
I know Ahsoka is a thing. That came out somewhat recently.
Yeah. Was this before or after Obi-Wan?
Before? I don't know.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know. We watched Obi-Wan. We talked about that. And everyone was like, if you want to watch something that's Star Wars, but not Star Wars at all, watch Andor. I'm like, what does that mean? Is that good?
It's kind of right. It's more. It's not. I don't know that it's not Star Wars at all. It's more just they're finally expanding upon the world of Star Wars. Which, if you're gonna make a immortal franchise that will never die, and you're gonna keep pumping out installments, this is the kind of world building Disney should have been doing 10 years ago.
I was gonna say this is the world building that the prequels should have been.
Yeah.
But I don't think George Lucas is smart enough to write dialogue this good.
In a darkened screening room, George Lucas is using a laser pointer to show the 45 computer animators who are working on his new Star Wars movie just how he wants a big battle scene to look.
I liked Andor a lot, and I really wanted to get your opinion and to talk to you about it because the Star Wars enigma is fascinating to me now. The sheer inconsistency of the shows and movies in terms of target audience and quality level is like astounding. I found a website that listed all the Star Wars products, not including books, comics, and video games.
Yeah.
In chronological order.
Chronological order, okay.
It starts off with The Young Jedi Adventures, the show for babies.
Yeah.
Followed by The Phantom Menace. So I guess Young Jedi Adventures, chronologically, would be when Jedis... Were there Jedis in The Phantom Menace? Yeah.
Yeah, there were Jedis in The Phantom Menace, yes.
Young Jedi Adventures would be young Jedis. Probably younglings running around with lightsabers, I don't know. But it's for babies.
Yeah.
Not the Phantom Menace. I don't know if the Phantom Menace was after they all got killed off or not. That's the Revenge of the Sith.
Yes, this is Revenge of the Sith.
There's 3 trilogies now. It's hard to keep track of this. Attack of the Clones follows Phantom Menace. Then in between that is the Clone Wars, the movie, then the Clone
cartoon
Wars
CGI
series.
movie, yeah.
Yeah, then the series, then Revenge of the Sith. Then we go to the Bad Batch, which is a CGI animated series. I don't know if it's for kids or grown-ups.
I assume it's for...
Next is Solo, the Solo movie, followed by the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show. Then we're back to kids with Rebels. Then Andor, followed by Rogue One.
Well, yeah.
And Andor Season 2, I think, will be squeezed in between these two.
It would have to be. It's certainly not taking place after Rogue One.
Right, yeah.
I mean, it might make for an interesting series if it's just like, you know, like 10 hours and it's just a shot of like a smoldering corpse.
Pile of dust.
Just a pile of dust floating in space. Andor floats in space. It's just the description for every episode. Andor's corpse floats in space.
Andor's ashes get condensed into a kyber crystal. And he gets put inside of a lightsaber.
Now, does his soul possess the lightsaber?
It talks.
Yeah, yeah.
And it ends up on Young Jedi Adventures at some point, and the babies have it. This sucks. I just want to be dead. Okay, Rogue One is followed by A New Hope, followed by Empire, followed by Jedi. Then The Mandalorian, then the Book of Boba Fett. And I don't know how the Book of Boba Fett happens after Return of the Jedi, because Boba Fett fell into the Sarlacc pit monster and got eaten.
I'm sure there's an explanation
He climbs out.
for how he climbs out of the Sarlacc
he
pit.
gained 70 pounds while floating around in that belly.
I mean,
I
yeah.
had to eat all of its stomach contents.
He had to eat his way out. Mike.
Okay. And he has developed a taste for Sarlacc meat. I want to say I've heard from sources that in The Mandalorian we see Boba Fett climb out of the Sarlacc pit monster so that he could be in the Book of Boba Fett.
Whatever.
Then after the Book of Boba Fett is Ahsoka. So then after that is Resistance. I don't know what that is.
That's literally the first time I've heard of that one.
Then the
Is
Force,
that released yet?
I don't know. The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, then Star Wars Visions.
Boom, boom, boom.
Let's talk about Andor.
Yeah.
What are your impressions?
It's enjoyable. I think it's very solid. It's not my favorite thing in the world, but it's very solid. I think it's excellent world building. And Cassian Andor is probably the least interesting character in the show. And it's probably even just a misnamed show. It should just been called Star Wars Rebellion or something.
Or Star Wars Heroes. That's a lame name, but from what I gathered from it, it's the Empire and then people that are characters that are doing their own little bits to start to form the rebellion or be heroic against it themselves, all the way from Mon Mothma down to,
Cassian Andor.
Cassian Andor. And so they give basically all these characters equal screen time. Mon Mothma is of course a senator. She's very wealthy, but she has that, that sense that something is going very wrong.
Yeah.
And there's some injustice happening, and she's secretly working with Stellan Skarsgård, who is kind of a mystery character, but he has that great speech in one of the later episodes.
What have you given up speech?
Yes. Who's also working with a different kind of hero, the Imperial double agent or spy.
Yeah.
Who's risking his neck to send him information. Then you have all those characters that do the heist, even down Andor's mother, the little robot. I mean, everyone's doing their part.
Even the Imperial characters are good. I really like the ISB lady, and even the ISB director guy, who just, seems entirely reasonable and professional. He's just doing his job well.
That guy just screams Star Wars Imperial villain.
Yes!
He was born to play that role.
That's a bit of a stretch.
The inner workings of the Empire. And I like the idea of world building, although it's almost an impossible task because you're talking about how to form a galactic empire and the logistics of that. And in the first movie, Star Wars, it didn't matter.
It's a fairy. It's a fairy tale. People like to think Star Wars is science fiction. It's not.
No.
It's fantasy with space paint. It's a simple story. The hero defeats the evil emperor. He slays some dragons on the way. But
Hero's journey.
The world isn't important, but you're going to go on and do 50 years worth of additional material, and Cassian Andor is the kind of shit we need. Now we need to flesh out this world.
Yeah, or do we? And see, that's like the contradiction or conundrum that I wanted to discuss with you, because that's what Lucas wanted to do with the prequels.
Yeah, but he did it badly.
I know. That's the thing, is like, I have a slightly, like, if my appreciation for the prequels just went up just a tick. Because after the original trilogy, which is a hero's journey, an adventure film, conquer the bad guy, simple fairy tale, what do you do? He wanted to tell the backstory, but I don't think he's a good enough writer.
It's like sketching with a pencil, and suddenly somebody gives you paint, and you have all these colors. It's like watching a painter. You just, you put colors, It's not done until it's done. That guy is a cyber character. He's not real. The guy that was jumping.
I've seen those movies. I know he wasn't a good enough writer to do that.
And
okay?
if you release something like Andor, Star Wars is back.
Over a month ago.
All right, get out your lightsabers.
You just may have noticed that Star Wars, the latest episode, opens nationally at midnight tonight.
The hype surrounding this movie has been overwhelming. Now the question is, will it deliver?
They're about to open the doors here in just a few minutes, and people are revved up.
Star Wars is back, everybody. And then Andor comes on the screen.
This is f***ing awesome.
Is that how you've been presenting yourself to the world? That would explain a great deal.
And it's like the most depressing, like miserable thing you've ever seen. That wouldn't work. So he wanted to tell the story of how the Empire came about, all while having a little kid and a cartoon rabbit and poopy jokes and a wacky adventure in it. It's like oil and water.
Yeah.
This is how you should have done the prequels, but it's like a fork in the road. Do you go for space adventure, sci-fi fantasy about, a guy saving the princess from the evil bad guy he has a galactic space empire? Or do you make something like Game of Thrones, where you have this really dark political intrigue and all this dialogue, and this person's betraying this person's a spy, and because that's what Andor is. Mm-hmm. One is for adults, one is for children, and I guess, or the young at heart, let's say that. The Star Wars
the stupid.
Well, no, the original Star Wars trilogy isn't for stupid. It's for everybody.
I'm kidding.
But which way do you go with it? And I get maybe it's a good thing that the Star Wars franchise has so many facets, I guess, or age ranges. Like, I'm a baby and I want to watch baby Jedi adventures. I'm a 48-year-old man and I want to watch the most depressing thing I've ever seen.
Oh, I thought you were going to say I'm a 48-year-old man and I want to watch Jedi baby adventures.
Oh, that too. And then it's like, okay, little Tommy's 8, and Tommy wants to watch some Star Wars. Let's put on Andor.
I liked anything space when I was a kid. I might have actually liked this when I was a kid, or at least some of the more exciting story arcs in this. Because there's like 3 or 4 separate mini movies in this.
Yes, and that's what I liked, is that it changes up its tone quite a bit. Not the tone, but the locales and the scenarios. He's
a thief on like a planet that's controlled by a corporation, and it's not even really controlled by the Empire. It's controlled by like a corporation that operates within the Empire.
It starts off as a noirish murder mystery, then it goes to a heist movie, then it goes to a prison break.
Escape movie.
Yeah. The opening. I think that's what grabbed me was that kind of first episode or two when he's searching for his sister, but he's in an adjunct planet of the Empire, a corporate planet. It's like a company town almost that does mining.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like always raining, and there's like a security company that maintains the planet. It's not the Empire.
They're like the corporate cops, the corporate-owned police force.
Yeah, and the Andor gets like harassed by these two guys. He goes to like a brothel. Right off the bat, it's like, okay, tell Timmy to watch Baby Jedi instead. He goes to a brothel and he's trying to find his sister, and these guys rough him up, and then he ends up killing them both. And then that great scene, I love that scene with the head of the corporate cops.
This case appears to bear all the hallmarks of what I like to describe as regrettable misadventure.
But they were murdered.
No, they were killed in a fight.
This guy, this actor was on a show called Bodies on Netflix. I don't know if you watched that.
No, I haven't watched that.
So the actor's name is Kyle Soller, and his character's name is Cyril Karn. It's darn near an anagram, which I always joke that Star Wars names are anagrams, and I literally investigated to see if this was an anagram of his name. But it's pretty fucking close, so it's confusing.
Yeah.
So Kyle Soller plays Cyril Karn. These fucking names.
It's the kind of name you'd pick if you wanted a Star Wars alias.
Yeah, exactly. He's very Law and Order-ish, and the old supervisor's like, oh, they fell down the stairs. We don't want the Empire coming here.
He just does not give a shit.
He does not give a shit. Just say they died like stopping some robber. Nothing too heroic. You know, we don't want a parade. Something good. But he's like, but they were killed. You know, I must investigate this. And he's really like, And I want to talk about his character arc because that was the most important thing in the whole show for me, and it let me down.
Well, yeah, it's like an anti-character arc.
That was the most disappointing, and maybe it'll change in season 2.
No, he's gone too far into insane territory to fix his character, I think.
Well, let's just talk about it because I might forget to talk about it later.
Yeah, that's fine. No, we can talk about it.
And I want to see if you agree with me on this.
Okay.
Because watching this, I'm like, what is his arc? And he parallels Andor almost precisely, but on opposite ends, right? Andor is he grew up, he was like on an alien planet as a kid, and he got rescued by smugglers or thieves? I don't know.
Yeah, scavengers really is probably a better term for it.
Yeah, scavengers. His mother and his father, they would be his adopted parents because he was like a
tribal kid on a planet that, in Star Trek terms, I get the feeling his planet would have been pre-warp.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And so he grew up poor, scrapping around, breaking the law, blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, Kyle Soller's character, Cyril Karn, Law and Order guy, he gets really involved in justice. He wants justice. Somebody killed those two guys, even though they're scummy guys hanging out at a brothel.
Justice and duty.
Duty and justice. And he goes to this mission, which turns into a disaster. And he gets fired, essentially, or demoted, kicked out. He ends up back at home in his mother's house.
That's kind of great at first. It wore thin on me after like 8 episodes.
Well,
but
he gets sent to Coruscant. His mother lives in like a basement apartment in Coruscant, which was awesome. And the view out of his childhood bedroom window was like miserable. You remember that? Like,
I don't remember the view, but
it's noteworthy because it's just nothing but just like concrete and is just ugly, and her apartment is so dingy and small, and she's nagging him. You know, it was almost comical.
I thought it was gonna. I gotta be honest. I thought it was gonna end with him just murdering her. I thought that's where they were going.
What is it you'll be asking for?
Someone who'll take you on, Cyril.
Setting the bar high, are we?
Uncle Harlow will know what's best.
She's like, I'm gonna hook you up with Uncle so-and-so and he can get you a job. And then he shows up and it's like this giant like office.
What is it, the Department of just Standards?
Yes. A sea of cubicles, essentially.
Yeah.
The Star Wars equivalent of cubicles. So he has a mundane, like nothing job. And he's like angry. And then he gets interrogated by Deidre, that's it. Deidre Miro. She's working her way up the ladder too. Her and that other guy are like stabbing each other in the back to try to get the approval of the head guy. She's working her way up the Imperial like law enforcement ladder.
CIA, the intelligence.
Intelligence, yeah. And she interrogates him, and he's like, you want Cassian Andor? I want to get him too. Blah 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 blah. I could work with you. I could help you. And she doesn't want his help because she wants all the credit. And she basically tells him to fuck off. And he starts stalking her. He wants to do the right thing. For a couple episodes, he's trying to find Andor himself. He's doing, and his friend from the police force or the security force calls him. He's like, I found Andor. Blah, blah, blah.
And he's working the shittiest job in the world.
Indeed. Been a bit rugged for me lately, but, you know, we're marching onward.
He's set on finding Andor. He never says like, I'm gonna kill him, and then I thought like, Andor lives with his mother, this guy lives with his mother. They're sort of like on different ends, and I really thought at the very end, he was gonna betray the blonde Dedra
Mira or whatever.
I thought he was gonna betray her, or maybe at the last minute save Andor, because he's all about justice.
There comes a time when the risk of doing nothing becomes the greatest risk of all.
And the Empire has done nothing to provide that justice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
There's a rebel murderer running free because of corruption and laxity in the corporate authority. I was punished for trying to uphold the law, do my job, maintain public safety.
It almost seemed like he would have a complete 180, where he realized that the real justice being done in the galaxy is done by the rebels.
It would have fit thematically too, because in this show, a lot of the people who are currently rebels used to be part of the Imperial system.
Right.
Former stormtroopers, CIA guys who are moles now.
Yeah, because he did everything he could the correct way, and the real injustice that was happening within the Empire, or within the corporate structure that he was in, the hierarchy, whatever you want to call it, and he was not able to achieve that. And so I would think he would empathize or relate to Andor, and I just pictured this ending where the blonde woman has the gun at him, and Andor's, oh, don't shoot me, and then... And then, the camera pans over, and there he is pointing the gun at her. I was gonna let you help me track him down, but no. You inhibit justice. You're a tyrant.
This show's very grounded.
Maybe not so grand or cliched.
Yeah.
Maybe not literal. That's literally what happened, but him switching sides would have been a nice treat, because he was hunting Andor. I just didn't want, I'm mad and I want to kill him, like revenge kind of thing because of what happened. I thought it would have given his character some depth. Like he realized the reason he was hunting Andor was for the wrong reasons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have you modified your uniform?
Perhaps slightly. Pockets piping and some light tailoring.
Because, I mean, he starts off almost likable because he's the only one that cares about doing his job properly.
Yeah.
It turns out he's incompetent at it, but he at least cares about doing things the right way. He's an interesting character in that way, which is why I kind of suspected they were going to do something like that, where he was going to be either a good guy all along behind the scenes or have that turn. But.
Well, he tried everything he could do by the book, by procedure, by the law within the Imperial system, and it did nothing back for him. They just basically said, fuck you, we don't want your help.
There's a lot of moral gray area that you didn't get with the original trilogy or the prequels or most things. Like, Mon Mothma is making some compromises to get this rebellion thing off. I mean, she sells out her own fucking daughter to a crime lord because she needs money. Axis, Luthen? What's his name? Like
Luthen.
Luthen. He is very morally gray.
Yes.
Like, he gives Andor this speech, like, don't you want to fight them? Come on. And then, like, the next day after the job is done, he puts out the order, kill him. But he's doing what he thinks he has to do.
And even Andor,
Yeah.
He kills the guy from you ever watch The Bear, that show?
No.
The guy who, he told him the story about his brother who had the apple farm or something. It was killed by the Empire. He was lying.
Oh, yeah.
He was just really there to steal money. And then he's like, come on with me, Andor, we'll split it. And Andor just murders him. Because he couldn't, after that,
he could not be trusted after that.
After he exposed himself, Andor couldn't turn his back to him.
Yeah.
Or else, so it's sort of self-defense, but in the same way, it's just sort of like cold-blooded murder. Same with the guy in the very first episode. You mentioned world building, the idea of how to form a galactic empire is to me like kind of hard to wrap your head around, and you would need like 12 TV series to do it. How do you start a galactic empire? New chapter.
You have the Phantom Menace.
You have electrocuted your own face with your laser fingers, okay, which has turned you into a monster. And you just threw Samuel L. Jackson out the window. How do you start a galactic empire?
You take. I mean, it's happened in history. It's happened in fucking Rome.
The one thing that was interesting in the one idea, I should say, in the prequels was Palpatine creating, I guess you'd call it a military-industrial complex, right?
Yeah.
Like the need for constant buildup of army and machines of war based on a threat, an ever-present threat, right?
That he has manufactured, so that he can have his own personal army.
Exactly,
yes.
And so he created the Clone War that he devised so that there would be a need for the Senate to approve building millions of starships and creating clone troops and all that kind of stuff. So you have to have the power first, unlimited power.
You do that step by step, one little bill. I need this power to do this act to enforce this aspect of society.
Right.
Oh, well, we need to monitor the phone lines now because of this terrorist act. So and here's a new law where I have control over the phone and the communication. You do it bit by bit until you have full control over everything.
But it's different on a galactic scale.
Do you know this from experience?
Well, you have planets. I guess I don't know the makeup. The one thing I'm most interested in Star Wars is the Mon Calamari. Because they were like the workhorse of the rebellion in terms of spaceships. They were the race that had the giantest, largest space cruisers, and like those kind of planets must exist out there, you know what I mean? And I think that was the purpose of them, is once they joined the rebellion, it kind of really picked up speed. They had bigger ships to fight. Where are they? Where's their race in the grand scheme of things?
I could presume that the Galactic Republic might not be the entire galaxy, but it might be more like, Europe as opposed to the entire world.
Okay.
Maybe it's just very large, but there are still other smaller bodies out there. I don't know.
See, that's the thing. It's almost mind-boggling on how to handle it,
My base, a neo-Republican. The Gorman Front, the Partisan Alliance, sectorists, human cultists, galaxy petitionists. They're lost. All of them lost.
The scene where they do the heist on the whatchamacallit,
Altair or something.
Yeah, they take all the gold or space.
The
credits.
entire, what is it? The
payroll
for an entire sector of the Empire.
And see, that's another thing too. Is now you're bringing economics. The Galactic Empire is paying. I want to see a character that instead of like quitting being a stormtrooper decides to go become one.
Mm-hmm.
You squeeze their economics in their city to where they can't provide for themselves. Well, there's a great way where you could provide for your family. Join the army. You know what I mean?
Maybe that's something they could do yet. There's nothing saying they can't have a show.
Because now you've got a contradiction in where stormtroopers came from. They were clone troopers before, but now they're not. Are there worlds out there? Because every world we've seen, that's why I'm interested in the Mon Calamari. Get away from me! I want to see the Mon Calamari homeworld, and because if they could build spaceships that big, they have some tech, they have an advanced society. The Star Wars worlds we see are worlds like what's the Andor world where he lives with his mother? With all
Ferrix.
Ferrix, yeah. Worlds like that, where they're still bartering, they're cutting up fish meat, they're cleaning up scrappy parts. We see Ferrix, we see Tatooine, we see a lot of like poor planets where they're scrapping by. But I'm curious about the median income worlds where they have technology and they have people that are like doing okay, where they don't feel the need to rebel because they're living in squalor. And
see, you and me grew up in a world where the middle class was a thing.
A middle class, that's what I'm thinking.
The middle class is currently shrinking.
Sure.
And that's when the middle class shrinks, that's when you get horrible shit like the Empire.
Yeah, okay.
The Empire might not have much of a middle class.
I guess I want to see the nuts and bolts of the Empire crushing or conquering, I don't know what the term would be, a middle upper class world, to where they come in and they say, oh, hi, we're the Empire. I know you have a really perfectly functioning planet, you have technology, but we want to take over and we can suck out all of your resources and basically conquer you.
Yeah.
Occupy your planet, take your men and turn them into stormtroopers, recruit people. Like where do these people come from who are in the ISB room? Like, where do they come from? Do they apply for jobs? Are they conscripted? Are they...
It would make sense that you apply for a job.
You take like an intelligence test, like you are super smart, you go to this department, you're dumb, you fly a TIE fighter around and shoot the lasers. Like, how does it work? And Andor gives us a taste of that.
Yeah.
Some sectors might naturally appear more exciting from the outside. Weights and gauges may seem a more vibrant arena than redundancy or verification, but walk the floor, talk to any lifetime employee, you'll be surprised.
Like, I loved all those scenes, the Imperial scenes. They're having the board meetings. It's like the scene in The New Hope,
I like those scenes better in this because they're not mustache. They're villains, but they're not mustache twirling.
Yes.
They're just very competently doing their jobs, talking about how they can stamp out this growing rebel threat, or figuring out that there even is a rebel threat. If Star Wars is just going to be 3 movies, it's just a fairy tale, and we tell that story and we're done with it, I prefer it to be black and white. If we're going to go on and on and on and on, we're going to be endless, I think you need the kind of complexity that Gray gives us. Or else you're just doing the same black and white story over and over again, where the young Jedi fights the evil Jedi ad nauseum until you throw up every night and cry yourself to sleep.
So
I think your road to more interesting, complex stories is Andor-style gray.
I didn't want you to have to make this choice.
For the greater good.
Call it what you will.
Let's call it war.
I enjoyed all the dialogue in this, all the performances, the scenery,
the look. They really, like, I guess Rogue One did the same thing, but they just go all in, like the retro future, 70s style future. The haircuts. The haircuts in this are on point.
Well, and the tech too.
Yeah,
The 70s tech, it's perfect. The one, what's the scene where he's speaking into the mic and it's like the same mic that Han Solo was yelling into? But on that point, it doesn't do the member berries or it's not Star Wars porn. Like this compared to like Rogue One. Rogue One is like disgusting, like overload of Star Wars porn. This is like, you hear a TIE fighter and you see it fly by in the beginning, and the sound is like terrifying. It's like that sound is so great. You don't see stormtroopers for like 7 episodes, and when you do, they're like in the background. It's like not even important.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's a thing. And I think you see the little Death Star droid. But the restraint on remember that stuff is like, it's just needed. It's placed where it's just needed, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that is like very impressive.
Like relating to like the look of the show, there's one thing, and it's the dumbest thing in the world, but I just love it. We talked about the informant that's in the ISB, that one guy. Just his haircut and mustache. It's perfect. That man looks like he's in a science fiction show, yet he also looks like he walked straight out of the 70s.
Yeah. I actually really like that scene when he goes in that elevator, and it's like this janky elevator. It's going up to like 200th floor, and that corridor and that look, it's so Star Wars. It's so Empire Strikes Back looking. Subtle, but very, very Star Warsy without being Rogue One overload. You know? Because I hate that movie. It's just too much. It's too much.
It's just dumb. Go to a place, everyone dies. The end.
It was just dumb. The writing is better. It's very slow moving. It's very intriguing. The only cons that I would have, just sort of like, you mentioned Andor as a character.
He's not the most, okay, this is just me. An issue I am having with the show is I can't not know that Cassian Andor dies 5 minutes after the show ends. And it is like impossible for me to let myself get too invested in his character.
Yeah, I guess. That to me doesn't really bother me. I think the only thing is that everything is fairly like joyless. And I get it's a darker show, but if I were to have a note on it, it would be just give us a little something.
No, don't.
You want to wallow?
Don't. Let's wallow in the misery. Yeah,
okay.
We're establishing that our empire is a bad thing that needs to be defeated, and they are making everything miserable.
I'm not talking Jar Jar Binks level of comic relief. The robot is enough. I'm happy with the robot. He's adorable. I don't know. My human self wants. I know we didn't talk about the Bix character.
Which one was Bix?
Female.
Oh, yeah.
She gets interrogated all to hell, and then he rescues her at the end. I think there's sort of implications that they may have had a prior romance.
Yeah.
And she's with Tim. I love that the guy's name is Tim. It's not Krebs Gorlon or anything like that. It's Tim.
It's got 2 M's though, I'm pretty sure.
That's fine. It's not Glorgon, Clabnor. It's
T-Y-M-M.
Yeah, it's Tim. He's Tim. So I think there's a little romance there, but I need a little. I need someone to kind of smile, just once, just smile. That's all I need.
No, because here's the thing, though. Here's the thing with this. Now that you have a universe, if you need to smile, put on the original trilogy. There you go. I kind of enjoy this being miserable.
Okay, I guess so. Yeah, I just want a dash, just a dash.
Can I applaud their restraint in the Bix interrogation scene?
Sure.
When Deidre is talking about it, I have this evil scientist, and he has invented the new, most evil way to extract information from somebody. I was waiting for the brown black droid to come up. They didn't go there, and thank you.
Well, yeah, and that guy, he's like, oh, hi, how are you doing today? It's like, here's audio of the death screams of children. It will melt your brain. He was a psychopath. But what they did do, and I don't know if you noticed this, a very subtle nod to A New Hope when the black spherical droid with the needle on the end goes at Princess Leia, and Vader goes, and then the door closes. The camera pans down rapidly and follows the footsteps of a stormtrooper or a black guy in the black outfit. They do the same shot in this, where the doors close.
I didn't notice because I haven't watched those movies in ages, but
every frame of Star Wars is in my memory banks. Every shot, every camera move. So they do that same thing. It was I'm going to put them side by side. I'm sure others have noticed, but it was clever. It was a clever little wink. But yes, they didn't go so far as bringing out the probe interrogation droid. Dun, 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 and zoom in on the needle. 70s zoom in on the needle. Yeah, I was expecting that too. But the guy played the death screams of children. And I'm like, that's new.
And evil.
And very evil, yeah. Their screams are so haunting it will melt your brain. See, to me, I think the contradiction that's really hard for my brain to get around, and this Andor has certainly helped, but when you take Star Wars ultra seriously, the first one, it's like Han and Luke are on the Death Star, and they put on costumes, and they break into the security booth, and Han's like, "Yeah, what? There's a princess? I'm going to sleep with her first." No, she's mine. We're going to go rescue her. All right, kid, let's go rescue the princess. Is she cute? Does she have money? They're all fucking around there. No one's like, it's not as deadly serious. And in this, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's spying, it's backstabbing, betrayal, it's morally ambiguous and smartly written. And yeah, you can't, the Empire has to be serious. And in the first couple movies, they're a little goofy.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
The Ewoks are hitting them with rocks.
The bad guys.
They're the bad guys, and they're not much more depthful other than that.
Mm-hmm.
If they do a season 2 of Andor, they shouldn't have called it Andor.
I was just going to say that because you know who we haven't talked about that much? Andor, because he's really kind of the least interesting character in this. Is that fair? Mon Mothma's more interesting. Axis is a lot more interesting. Mon Mothma's cousin, the spoiled rich girl who's pretending to be a spoiled rich girl. She's in the rebellion, but she's like unsure of herself. She's more interesting than Andor is.
Kyle Sorrel, Kyren.
Yeah.
That guy's great. But like you said, if they called it Star Wars Resistance,
Rebellion, Uprising.
Then you could say, oh, Andor's gone off to do this job. We don't know what's going to happen to him. Let's now follow, because it leads to a sequel season because we have now a nice little cast of characters that all board the ship. We got Bix, Andor's friend, Robot, And then there's like an older black lady who was part of the Sisters of Ferrex. She's just like, I'm going too. And I'm like, who's that?
Well, and then also you get Andor going to, I keep calling him Axis. I know that's what the Empire, Luthen or Luthen? Luthen. And you get Cassian Andor going to Luthen, and that's almost unresolved too. It's
it's a cliffhanger.
What is Luthen going to do?
Yeah. He's like, shoot me. And
I was a little bit surprised because I thought this season was just going to end like its own self-contained completely thing. I didn't think the plan was more of this, yet the way this ended definitely feels like there's going to be more.
I mean, the only real hiccup would be, obviously it can't go...
You can't go 10 years because that actor's going to keep aging.
Yeah.
And he died 10 years ago.
Right. Yeah, you can't go too far. Like the timeline in terms of like when they steal the Death Star plans is, to me, I don't know. I don't know BB-wise.
Maybe if they want to go on 8 more years, they'll just start one season where he just shows up. He's like got soot all over him. I got out just in time.
No, but in terms of like how many years it'll be or seasons it'll be until it gets to the events in Rogue One, we don't know, other than Diego Luna aging. That's the only real problem. But he could have 3 seasons, 4 seasons of adventures before Rogue One.
Yeah.
I mean, you can even maybe just turn the computer knob, the de-age knob a little.
I guess that's getting cheaper and cheaper.
Just turn that knob a little and maybe I don't know, but or you could just I'd just turn that part of my brain off. I was like, okay, the actor's a little older, whatever.
Yeah.
It's the same character.
Yeah.
Me as a.
But I don't think that flies with most audience members these days. When we were young, they used to like recast people in TV shows all the time.
I know, it's weird.
Darren was a different person in one season of Bewitched.
And logically, this show isn't going to go on for like 10 seasons. It doesn't happen anymore.
Right.
At most, we'd probably get 3. And if season 2, he goes off to find his friends that he sent off, Bix and the wacky cast of characters, and they have more adventures, they're going to do that. But they'll also probably continue to expand on how the Empire works. And I think that's just what I need. I need that. Because I got a little window into all the different agencies, and I want to know like where these people come from. Where the blonde lady, where is she from? How did she become that? You know?
Yeah.
At what point are you just like evil in your heart, where you're just like, hey, this sounds great. No,
she's fighting to preserve her way of life, Mike.
Because that was always my problem with like Luke turning to the dark side in Jedi. Was like, what is the Emperor offering him?
Yeah.
Join me. Okay. And that's one thing that Lucas tried to do in the prequels, was give Anakin motivation. It was stupid.
It was clumsy.
Clumsy.
It was clumsy is the kind word for it.
Here's a dream of Padme dying during childbirth. If you become evil, you have magical powers that are beyond the Jedi that could prevent her from dying. Okay, that's motivation for him wanting to become evil.
Yeah.
Okay.
That and his childish musings that the world would be so much better if he had absolute power. Remember how he romanced Padme?
Yes.
The senator who had dedicated her life to democracy by saying he would love to overthrow democracy and have unlimited power for himself. Yeah.
I think fascist dictatorship's not a bad idea. It's like, oh no, don't throw that line in there, George. That ruins the character before you ruin the character. He's evil from the get-go. If he was a really, really nice guy and then he got spooked by the fact that he had a vision that Padme was going to die, that's a heroic, tragic fall. But yeah, the fact that he was a proponent for fascism right out the get-go on their first date.
Sounds an awful lot like a dictatorship to me.
Well, if it works.
So many problems there in those prequels.
Now, how did you do those animals? Are they camels that you've changed?
They're all cyber animals.
I want to see more of not particularly Andor, but Andor is just a piece of a larger puzzle.
Yeah. That's what I like about that. I have always said that Star Wars is really a very small world. I've complained about that endlessly, and this show is the first step towards correcting that for me.
Yeah. It definitely expands it. We see things we haven't seen before. We've seen some things we've seen before. We see the Senate.
You see things fleshed out. Like how the Empire, we've seen the Empire before, but seeing like the specifics of how the Empire operates is something we haven't seen.
Right. Yeah, and a couple little moments we that were refreshing, and I like the part where Luthen escapes from the Star Destroyer. That was like an exciting little Star Wars moment, you know. We finally see him in action. He's not just a puppet string puller kind of guy who's working behind the scenes. He actually has some skills himself.
I love the dual like alter ego thing he has going on.
Yeah.
Like, he puts on the wig and he's this foppish, I own an art store. Oh, I'm high society man. And then he takes the wig off. I've given up everything for the cause.
Yeah. Yes. He's playing two parts.
He's the best character in this. And they should have just, even though he's a character that never appeared anywhere before, they should have just called this show Luthen.
Yeah. Luthen? I don't know.
Whatever, I don't care. Axis.
Axis. No, but.
Which is an odd name for a guy who fights fascism. Just saying.
And I think they refer to him as Axis because an axis is the center.
I know. Looking at it from a meta perspective, there's a bit of irony there.
I get it. Yes. And that's another thing too, is I never really saw a reason to absolutely hate the Empire.
That's what I'm saying.
Until Cassian Andor decides to go to the beach planet to spend his money and sleep with prostitutes. And he's just walking around and he gets roughed up. What are you doing? You committing some kind of crime? Well, you're under arrest. And what? And then he gets dumped in the most miserable prison.
Which ironically is very clean.
Ironically very clean. It was like, but I would rather be in Alcatraz than there. He's just, you have to constantly work and you could get electrocuted by the floors. It was like a nightmare.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then they find out, and Andy Serkis is in it. We didn't mention that. He's the
boss guy.
The boss of the other prisoners. They find out they executed 200 men on one level for some reason, and you're never getting out of here. They say your prison sentence ends, but it's not going to. And so that made me actually hate the Empire, want to rebel against them. Before it's just like, well, what's the problem?
They're the designated bad guys versus this, where it's like, they're the bad guys.
Yeah, now you realize why they're the bad guys, because they're pretty awful. And they take people's freedoms away unjustly. That court scene, oh my God. The judge is she's opening pistachios. Do you remember that? It's getting all over the control panel. It's 6 months, usually this sentence, 6 years. She's just a cog in the machine. She's got, and see, those are the type of characters too that I want them to explore. Like the scummy people who have that security of being part of the Empire, that safety.
Yeah.
If you're part of it, numerous characters that are all heroes, heroic, rebellious characters in their own way, doing their own thing within the scope of their limits. Obviously, Axis character, Luthen is more, he has more resources, skills than someone like Andor. He's got his badass spaceship.
He's obviously got money and connections.
He's got money and he's well connected to politicians. And he puts together this rabble of people to break in here. He's doing things. So he has his own skill set. Andor does, Mon Mothma. All these characters, and so definitely the best written and executed Star Wars product that I've seen since the original trilogy.
I enjoyed The Mandalorian season 1.
Season 1.
It was fun. It was fun adventures, but this is solid. This is just solid.
The Mandalorian one was like kind of like a comic book.
Yeah.
This is more like a...
Mandalorian was fun adventures. This is drama.
I just fear season 2. Because remember I haven't watched it, but season 2 of The Mandalorian, we had like a CGI Luke Skywalker, and...
I've still never watched it, just because everything I heard about it coming out, I was just like,
I heard it turned into like a member berry
Boba Fett shows up. Luke Skywalker shows up. These characters from that Clone Wars cartoon series you never watched show up. And I'm just like, maybe not.
This, I just feel like, I know someone who could help us. They're a Jedi. It's Ahsoka.
They almost went without any references to Jedis in this at all. They almost did it.
Did they have one?
The crystal.
The
crystal that Axis gives Cassian Andor, I'm pretty sure is the lightsaber.
It's a kyber crystal.
Kyber crystal.
Yeah. That's fine.
But that was subtle enough where it's fine.
But if they go and we start having like, they go to Dagobah and talk to Yoda and whatever, and just, fuck it.
Oh.
What?
Luthen's gonna be a secret Jedi. That's gonna be the broken crystal from his old lightsaber.
He does have that weird...
They're gonna ruin his character.
Just know it will always be worth more to me. I want it back when this is over.
He does have that weird staff thing.
They're gonna ruin his character. He's gonna be a secret Jedi.
What are you, Luthen? I've never really known. What are you?
Yeah.
Okay. I now hate the show.
Is he gonna fight Darth Vader?
He's gonna fight Darth Vader.
Oh, it's happening. You're so good with your predictions, you're probably right.
He's gonna take that broken crystal and he's gonna put it inside his staff and
that staff he has.
Yeah.
It has when he was walking with it, it looked like a lightsaber.
Oh no.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh no, they're gonna ruin his character. He's so interesting and they're gonna ruin his character by making him a fucking Jedi. Oh. Fuck this.
Fuck Andor.
Fuck Andor.